the defense.
Position about 8 yards from goal. Thoroughly unforgettable performance. Performance. Performance.
Welcome curling fans across Ontario and around the world to another exciting season of curling on Tidal Sports Live. Today we have live coverage of the Ontario U21 Men's and Women's Curling Championships being held here at the Annandale Golf and Curling Club in Ajax, Ontario. My name is Mary Chilvers and I'm joined here today by the 2018 Canadian Mixed Champion, Danielle Inglis. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning, Mary. It's great to be here and to be part of the Ontario U21 Championship. This event features some of the top young curlers from around the province competing for a chance to represent Ontario at the National U21 event that's being held January 13th through 21st in Shawinigan, Quebec.
And on our feature match this morning, we have Team AULD up against Team Murphy.
We'll take a look at the standings coming into this game. There are no undefeated teams out here, but the two at the top of the standings are Team Wallingford and Team Murphy with 4 wins and 1 loss. Coming in at 3 and 2 are Team Little and Team AULD. 2 and 3, Team Steele, Team Kimel. And at 1 and 4, Team Warner and Team Rosanne.
And on the men's side, we have Wilsey is alone at the top of the standings with 5 wins and no losses. Then we have tied for second place right now is Team Leung and Team Hall, 4 and 1. We have Richard at 3 and 2, Marshall and Fayaz 2 and 3, and we have Han and Steep that are both still looking for their first win.
Hair wider on this side.
So today is definitely a very big day, Danielle. This is really going to dictate, of course, who's going to be in the playoffs.
And the playoff structure for this event, the top team in the round robin gets a bye directly to the final tomorrow, and teams number 2 and 3 play off in a semifinal. Now, if there are teams tied in the standings and it can't be broken by head-to-head, they go into a tiebreaker game. So if that does happen, we will have coverage of that later tonight.
And we're going to keep you guys updated on all the sheets today. I know there's a lot of interested family members at home wondering how their team is doing out here.
If you're wanting to keep track of the scores, you can do so online at ontcurl.com/scoreboard. For our feature matchup, these are 2 of the top teams, as we mentioned, in the standings, and they've been 2 very dominant teams all season on tour.
Yeah, they both teams here have a lot of experience, especially the skips.
And they both come from some very experienced family.
They sure do. We have Justin Murphy, whose mother is Janet Murphy, plays for the Jacqueline Harrison team. And we have Courtney Auld, whose mother is Kathy Auld. She skips her own team, and both Kathy and Janet will be playing in the Scotties Tournament of Hearts on January 10th. So yeah, lots of experience in these families.
So we'd have to ask them though, what's tougher, watching or playing?
Oh, I know. I think it's probably watching. So here we are beginning the first end. Looks like Team Murphy got the hammer in this game.
You can see it's quite cold out here on the ice. Courtney's all bundled up with a hat on.
Yeah, the later in the week we see the kids showing up with more clothing. Parkas, toques, scarves.
I believe we even saw the host committee here. They were handing out toques for anyone who wanted one.
Yeah. And too, the officials, and they're not moving around. They're just standing out there. They're really having to layer it up out there. I mean, it doesn't help, Danielle, that there's no heaters in here, but plus the temperature outside this week is just absolutely freezing.
I mean, we're dealing with some beautiful minus 14 degree weather out here this morning.
Wow. Actually, I was just watching the news today, and they had to cancel the New Year's celebration at Parliament Hill because they said it's just going to be too cold.
Wow.
Yeah. And they say it's cold, it's kind of a dangerous cold. If you're not all bundled up, you could get frostbite pretty quickly.
Right? That really says something.
It does.
When the Canadians can't stand the cold.
Exactly. Exactly. So like we've seen all week here, probably the first couple of ends are going to be fairly open.
Good one.
These two teams have not played on this sheet yet, so they're going to throw them up and down a bit and get used to the sheet.
also a good way to bank the time. Each team has 38 minutes of thinking time. So that equates to approximately 4 and change minutes per end. But as we've seen, if you get down on time, it's possible to play an end in 2 minutes.
Yeah, we saw that the other day. One of the teams was really down in time, so they played a really fast end and we timed it. We were curious to see how short a time you could take in an end.
And really, it was a matter of being ready in the hack and ready to throw as soon as the skip put down the broom.
Yeah.
Because your time goes back in the second the rocks stop moving from your opposition or they're cleared from the sheet.
Right.
Nine. Yeah. Great shot.
One of the things we've observed on the sheet, Mary, is that though there has been some straighter ice conditions just due to the temperatures outside and not being able to regulate them as well in the curling club without a heater. So we've seen many teams mention how it's a little bit straighter than they expected. But what we've also seen on the sheet is that there is definitely some movement in places, especially inside the 4-foot lines and by the center line. So it'll be interesting to see which team picks up on that the quickest.
Yeah, and it's kind of a unusual movement because a lot of the players that have seen this movement, the first reaction is, oh, my rock picked. Because it takes such a sharp turn all of a sudden, and it's usually within the 4-foot area.
But that's one of the beauties of curling, is that we've been so spoiled with such great ice conditions with the technology that's come into the game now, and many of these players, when they're playing the Ontario Junior Curling Tour, the Junior Slam events, they're on very good ice and swingy ice. So we sometimes get spoiled and forget that a big part of the game is to read the ice, figure out what it's doing.
Exactly.
Just starting to curl now. Line's good. 4-3. I like it. It's good. That was nice. Good judge, guys.
That's what makes this game kind of interesting, Danielle, because we go from curling club to curling club, arena, whatever, and it's never the same. You know, you look at professional golfers or professional tennis players, they're getting the same, pretty much the same surface to play on all the time. They kind of know what to expect.
That's exactly it. So when you get to a spot where you need to perhaps make sure your ice reading skills are up to par, then that's if you haven't been taking that into as much consideration during the season, then it's definitely something that you spend more time thinking about. But also it's important, it's not only the skip who's reading the ice, but it's the other players should be all talking about it, talking about what you see as a thrower, giving feedback on what you might have done with the rock.
Yeah. One thing I always like is when my skip, calls a shot, say a hit or whatever, and they actually yell down to me, it's straight here or this curls. Because then you kind of know your tolerance when you release it as well. you know, on a straight spot, you know you can't pop it out. And on a curly spot, you want to make sure you can be full to the broom and still make the shot.
And that goes into really talking about the tolerance. So that's how you're releasing, potentially affecting the line of it. So you've got to look at the line tolerance and then also the weight tolerance. Especially if sometimes your pop ended up adding to the rock and maybe you can't pop it as much here, you may have to make some adjustments with how you push out the hack.
Right.
Whoa, whoa. Hey, a little bit. Hey, a few rocks up that path really quite a bit straighter. I think we can be 14.5.
So the 14.5 that you're hearing them refer to is the split time between hog lines. So that's a pretty fast speed. Some of the paths are very dependent on where they're going, and right now, Mary, they're going out to the side, your favorite area to talk about, because as you've mentioned, going out to the wings, even though there's some movement, it tends to be quicker. And we've seen quite a few teams get tripped up on their first couple rocks out to the wings, not believing, not trusting that it will be quicker.
Yeah.
Curling nice.
So this draw here today for the women's side is really interesting and really important because the top 4 women's teams are playing each other right now. So we have Wallingford is playing Little, and Wallingford is 4-1, Little is 3-2, and we've got Murphy at 4-1 playing AULD, who's 3-2.
It could be some pretty even stats at the top of the standings by the end of this draw.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. Big game here for Murphy and AULD for sure.
And you can't be eliminated through your last stone draw, and that's the players throw that at the beginning of every game, and that determines whether or not they get the hammer for the game, but also their cumulative score by the end of the week, if it comes down to tiebreakers, helps place them.
Right. So if you had 3 people tied for first place, 3 teams, but they had first you go head to head. But if they've all beaten each other, then it would come down, I believe, Danielle, to the last rock throw, the cumulative score.
Yep, so that could send you potentially into the final.
Right.
Or if you get into a case of tiebreakers, it looks like it could get messy. If you get into a case when you're many teams in tiebreakers, it determines your position. So sometimes when you have several teams in tiebreakers, one will get a bye to the second tiebreaker. So it's really huge.
It's huge, yeah. You want to play as less games as you have to once you make the playoffs. Like getting the bye to the final is a really, it's a bonus. You know, you earn it, but it's great to have that.
It's a long week out here. I mean, our game last night went an extra end, and they were on the ice until almost midnight.
Yes, yeah. So we saw a flash here in the first end. Justin Murphy trying to blank the end, and she got caught up in that straight spot. So it's going to be a steal for the AULD team.
Room where we want it.
And Murphy will have a chance, another crack at hammer in the second end.
Yeah.
We're going to be keeping you updated on the scores across all of the sheets, as we mentioned, though. Most teams here are only in their first, so we'll update you after the second. Throwing lead rocks for the AULD team is Jessica Humphreys. She's the 2016 Ontario champ, and this has been same with her teammates Taya and Courtney.
13-9. Good, Jess.
And for the Murphy team, the lead is Hillary Noon. Needed to be over a bit and definitely tighter.
Especially because this is an area where we do see movement on the sheet.
Really can't be wide on that side.
You can't be wide was the comment from Justin, but in that case you also have to be careful about the weight that you threw, and that was some pretty solid weight.
It was. I'm not sure what the weight was that Justin called, but it was definitely up and out, and it's in a straight spot, so I think it'll take these skips a couple of ends to get used to how this sheet works, because I know it is a little different from some of the other sheets I've been hearing about, so.
If the teams were interested in knowing what's going on with this sheet, I happen to know 2 people have been staring at it for a few games.
I know, and I'm surprised actually no one's come up yet to ask us.
Whoa.
No.
Okay, now go, Kayla. Hard.
But if they're interested, we might have some insight.
Because this is where the playoffs and the final are going to be on this sheet, so.
And we've seen it's been really consistent throughout the week, and that's one great thing about this ice. It's been nothing but consistent.
Yes.
We've seen the same spots are curling, same spots are running a little straighter. The speed is keeping steady.
Yeah, I'm really liking the speed on this sheet and the fact that it's maintaining for the full 10 ends.
That's pretty important because it takes that's a lot of ends. That's a lot of rocks that are going down there. Not to mention each team has a 7-minute practice before the game.
Yeah.
So you're running a lot of rocks down this ice. And if you get into an extra, there's another 16 rocks.
Right. So Courtney's in a good situation here right now. Very guardable rock on the button. She's about to put up her second guard here. She doesn't want this too tight to the first guard.
Can you go, Kayla?
We can finish.
Hard, Kayla.
Hard, Kayla, right over.
Both of you.
And you do see most of this movement in the hog line as well.
Yeah, that one didn't quite curl up for them.
Nine's good, Dan. We stick our shooter. That's really nice. Yeah, they all seem to be. I think they're dying quicker than we think. We finished a little bit earlier. By the time we started trying to finish it, it was a little bit.
So the second for the Murphy team is Danielle Hudson.
Yes! Hard! Hard! Better.
She was in this competition last year. 2017 tiebreakers is what they made with
I got 9-8.
Team Murphy.
And throwing third stones for the AULD team is Kayla AULD, sister of Courtney. She's the 2015 OFSA champion, as well as a bantam mixed champion.
Hard, switch.
Can't switch.
Switch if you can. Hard. You gotta keep going. Hard. Okay.
Do you like that wide one?
Beautiful double
that
heel run
works.
back.
That works.
10.
Most importantly, getting that one off the button.
Sometimes you need to have that player who's going to, when you've been struggling a bit in the end, you need that player who's going to come in and make a good solid shot.
Yeah. That'll turn things around for the Murphy team. They were in a bit of a bind there for a while.
Yep.
And already down 1 point.
Hard! Hard! Yes! Hard! Right away! Hard! All the way!
And here's one of these spots we see that curls. Especially, they mentioned 11-4, so that's a lower weight hit, but also if that spot curls even with some weight.
Yeah,
so
it does.
So any down and it's really going to move.
This is Riley Sanum, third for the Murphy team.
Line's good. 5. Let it curl a bit.
She's curled with Justin for her entire junior career, 6 years.
First.
It's amazing, not something you see every day.
No, it's not.
Yep. Too much ice, sorry. 11.
So even though this rock is partially buried, the guard is fairly high, and as we mentioned, the spot will curl, especially close to the center line.
Yeah.
This side's definitely moving more than that side.
11.
What? Right now, since we're just like breaking it in, but I imagine it'll, yeah.
Hard!
Right hard!
Hard!
Right on! Okay, you're on the guard,
The spot where a few teams have been fooled. This isn't the first time we've seen that.
Like this?
Yeah, so it's quite a drastic difference.
like-
If you're throwing that same spot but coming
open?
with the out turn, Danielle,
Leave it
it's
open,
they've
you'll
been
probably
fooled
play
on
the
that because
shot
it's
wrong.
very straight. Coming this way with the
Your
in
guard
turn,
was
it
here.
really curls hard.
Yeah, especially across center.
But at the same time with this ice, it's really sensitive. So even though it can be straighter in some points or curlier in other points, you still can't pop and you still can't turn it
Yeah,
because it's
yep.
it's going to really react to that.
Again, that's where you need to know your release, and when you need to know what it's going to do in that spot, so you
Edge
can,
on edge is nice.
make sure you're out to the broom if it curls. And
Same as my last one, Last set.
so this is Justin Murphy. Justin had some great experience this year playing with her mom's team, so that would be the Jacqueline Harrison team,
5.
in the pre-trials in Summerside, PEI.
Hard! Hard, guys, hard!
Same thing. I like 10 this time though.
A lot
So
less.
Courtney will get another crack at this.
Came off more though.
And Courtney,
Sorry,
she's
guys.
as we mentioned earlier, 2016 Ontario Junior Women's Champion. And along with her sister, the Ontario Bantam Mixed Champion and an OFSA champion.
I think it was okay for line.
Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa!
There it goes.
Go this way?
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah! Okay, well, we're like stuck in the machine.
a little in-betweensy there. They're hoping for the roll behind. Discussed the sweeping to get the roll out, and in the end ended up with a nose.
Yeah, Courtney's ran a little bit in that one.
That's why you really have to make that decision, I would say, before halfway down the ice.
Yeah.
If the shot's going right, call it for that. If there's something that's not quite right, then call the audible.
Courtney's second one ran a lot nicer. Yep.
It was a blank attempt, but it curled up, and Team Murphy picked up a single point in end 2. So we're all tied up 1-1, and it will be Team AULD with the hammer going into end number 3.
Yeah, I believe that.
So we're going to take a look at the scores across the ice.
Yeah, curling quite a bit.
This morning we have Team Wilsey and Team Fayez. And it is Team Fayez who kicked off the scoring with Team Wilsey who kicked off the scoring with a single point in end 1. Team Roson and Team Steele. It's Team Roson with a 1-0 lead. Also picking up a single point, it's Team Hall.
Line's good.
1-0 over Team Richard.
Room. Curling now. 2 at least. Yep. Really curling now.
We have a series of blanks on the other sheets. And we'll continue to update you as the games go along and the scores come in.
What did I get? 17-2.
All you. All you. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, go, Taya. You can finish hard.
Hard finish, guys. Hard, Marion.
So we saw Justin's team put up that center line guard, and what they're trying to do is force the AULD team into a single point.
You like that? Line's good. Whoa, just 4. Wider. Right around. 7. 14-1.
So this is one of the straight spots that we mentioned they might find on the sheet over on the 8-foot. And what happens here is if you up your weight slightly, even like we just saw, just the back 8, back 12 weight, and it's going to run. So, and you can see the result there. It didn't get the curl that they were hoping for.
Line's okay. Kayla's rock. Kayla's rock.
Kayla's rock.
14-1. Should be back here.
Again, that actually goes for both sides of the sheets.
Finish,
The 8-foots
hard.
do have some runs in them. They'll finish up once they get into the 4-foot. You saw the Red Rock really have some finish, but it is completely exposed.
10. Good one. 10-3.
Throwing second stones for the AULD rink is Taya Coburn. She was the Ontario Junior Champion back in 2016. And her proudest moment was representing Ontario at the Canadian Juniors, which was held in Stratford, Ontario, just down the street. Also, under the interesting fact, she can say the alphabet backwards quickly in about under 5 seconds.
Hard.
Okay, I have to hear that.
Whoa.
Noticing, Mary, that both teams on the sheet are
10
throwing
straight
more
tight.
takeout weight than
10
we've seen any of the
straight
other
tight.
teams throw. Typically, the teams have taken their weight down a notch, and that's allowed them to be able to control the shots more with sweeping. And then also we've been talking about how active the striking bands are. So you do have to be precise with the throws, and if you throw a lower weight, you're more likely to stick around. But I think that's resulted in some shots. They're hoping to curl more, but they really just didn't get that finish, or they've rolled out in some cases.
Whoa. Good, Dan.
Nice shot.
10-5.
Popped it right through the hole.
Hmm.
11.
Tighter we get, yeah. What?
11.
And there's
Courtney could also play here, Danielle. So Courtney has the hammer here. You know, sometimes controlling the front of the rings is not a bad idea. She could actually hit the one in the top 12, possibly rolling in front of the one in the 4-foot. Try to generate some offense here. If she gets this roll, it's such an easy run back for Jessica.
Kayla. Hard.
she called 11 on the shot, but that looked like it was a solid 10 at least.
Yeah.
9.
Or even was that a 9 we heard
She
there?
said they timed it at a 9, so that's way too much weight on this ice. As you say, you can hit almost the entire rock and still roll almost out of the rings.
Especially with that kind of weight.
Yeah.
Hair tight, line's okay. Line's good. Let it curl, starting to curl a little. 14. I'd like it here. I think. Good.
Up, and again, you see that curl, but with any weight that's in the back of the house, then it will
You
run
guys like the head
straighter.
roll.
If you're playing the top house weight, I'll give it a chance to
11.
finish. So we're trying for 11 here. We'll put a stopwatch to this to see what happens.
Whoa. Whoa. Jessica. Hard. Hard. Hard, 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 Jess. Hard, hard, hard. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay. That was 11.
And it was 11. We clocked it
11.
there as well. So now it's a case of you have that information. If the throw is what was expected and it was a nice release, then now you know you just need to adjust the broom.
My bad. Shoot. Okay.
Like that. 9.
So here's what you were talking about, Mary, just getting the rock out of the control zone.
Definitely cool.
You could freeze, but they still have that rock up in the top 12 to play with. So a smart call here by the AULD team.
Yes! Whoa!
Yeah, I'd say if there was more rocks behind the tee line, perhaps a freeze would be not a bad call, but I like this.
He jammed it but left the rock in the top, so now Murphy's team is going to have to deal with this.
Haven't seen it off the center yet, but I feel like
straight down here, we used a lot of hits the first
with
set.
this way, coming this way at it. With the draw, it was pretty gradual, eh?
Yeah, I think early.
Yeah, you like 10?
So you heard the back end talking about what exactly it would do in this spot. They haven't seen it yet, so they're thinking that it will curl up. Of course, it's very dependent on the weight they throw as well.
Yeah, I think
Got it. Clean. Whoa, 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 whoa.
that turn runs really nice, Danielle. She just threw nice weight on that.
Nice one.
Beautifully thrown.
It was, for sure.
That's the kind of weight that we're going to need to see out of these players to get the most out of their shots.
Leave her a triple, but she has to make it.
That's right, there is a triple there.
Pretty nice, eh? Like, gradual.
I think the triple's there.
The triple's there, but the biggest priority is to get that rock off the button, because it's now, when it was jammed, it sent it above the tee line.
Whoa, yeah! Whoa! Yes!
Nice shot.
Sorry.
Beautiful, and they rolled to B shot as
I
well.
like this way now.
Close.
10?
Close. Just need to stop.
I think 10-2 even. We can hold it.
What'd you get on the side?
I think 10-2 even. We can hold it. Yeah. Roll your way a bit, Dan.
Justin is almost
easy. Let it
graduated
set up in
from
here.
university, and she is taking zoology.
That's not something you hear every day.
No, it's not. No, she says she loves animals.
Moving.
Close, yeah. Hard, you got it. Hard, yep. Hard, yep.
Very nice.
That was a tough spot to throw too, because
Nice.
it was flirting with the 4-foot line. So if you're outside the 4-foot line, it will run straight inside and it'll curl. But great shot. But I also really like the confidence that Courtney just threw down the broom. No qualms about making a cold draw to the 8-foot.
Yeah. She could elect to try to play a double for her one. You know, if she hasn't thrown many draws yet, might not be that confident with draw weight.
What she has to be cautious with is this is a straight spot.
Yeah, I think she's out there a bit, so it's going to be fast and straight. That's where the sweepers have to really be aware here.
Whoa!
It's their job. Put this where it needs to be.
14-5. Little hot. Really nice court.
Very nice draw.
Came off a lot.
Beautiful. So that is the single point for Team AULD, and they have taken the lead 2-1 over Team Murphy.
Yeah, and I got 14 just to back.
So it'll be Team Murphy with the hammer going into end number 4.
Seems to run pretty straight there.
Give you an update on the games across the ice. On sheet 1, Team Wilsey took a single point in end 1, stole 2 in end 2, so they are up 3-0 over Team Fayez. It's tied at 1-1 at Team Razan and Team Steele.
Yeah, especially on this straighter
Team Hall with forced 1 in the first and stole 1 in the second, so they're up 2-0 over Team Richard.
I like it.
Team Warner took 2 in the first end, and Team Kimmel bounced back with a single in end 2. Team Warner with a 2-1 lead.
5-6.
Tied up between Team Han and Team Marshall, 1-1. Team Wallingford with a 1-0 lead over Team Little.
A little bit of finish, say a hard.
And on sheet 2,
Okay, 15-8.
Team Steep took a deuce in the first end, blank in the second, and it looks like another blank in the third. Oh, we're now seeing them put up the score more thoroughly. So it was a 3-ender for Team Leung. So they now lead 3-2.
5-5. Lots of line. B4. Maybe 4. 4. 15-1. Yep. Hard. Whoa, that's fine. Whoa. Good.
Another straight spot, but it didn't end up in a bad spot because at least it's more like a corner guard out there, Mary.
Yes. That's a possible splittable rock later on in the end because it's nice and tight to the rings.
It's not only important just to make the shot, but get something out of every shot, and that's a great example of a shot not made perfectly, but you can use it later on.
Hard. Keep going. Tuck it under if you can. Okay, that's fine. 16-9.
You like around this way again? Just fight 4 foot. Top 8's pretty good.
She's going to attempt to come around these guards again.
See, they really tighten the ice now.
Yeah.
Same pass, pretty wide. No line right now.
She might have to play the tap here if this doesn't move.
Love this one. Yep, you need this one. You're really close to it. Just let me know if you need stuff like that.
So maybe a little miscommunication there.
Very easy to do out here on this ice. 8 sheets, high ceilings. Teams really need to focus on their nonverbal communication, so hand signals to tell the person in the house what the weight is.
Yeah, because that rock was quite heavy, and they actually could have played a tick off of the corner yellow one had Justin known.
Wait close.
Yep. Okay, where are you?
Wait good.
Just Kayla. Hard, Kayla. Hard, drag it hard. Hard, 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 hard. Nice, 14-9.
Double peel those. Might be here, but that's okay. Enough.
I like Justin's thinking here that she's calling for the double peel. They have the hammer. They need to make sure that they have the center open, and she recognizes that there's a good possibility of a jam if you hit it the wrong way. But in this case, completely fine. It's keeping the middle open. That's a priority.
Clean. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. Good one.
And they avoided the jam.
Which is kind of nice because, like I said earlier, that yellow rock could come in handy for Justin later on in the end.
There's a couple options for the AULD team. They're electing to play a hit on the rock in the back. They could also just go ahead if they're being more aggressive and guard their rock that's in the top 8. I mean, they are sitting 2 at this point.
That's a good point, Danielle. This is more of a defensive call.
A little bit, Jess.
Nothing wrong with it, though.
Good. 10-4.
I think it was solid 10 out of our hand.
Yeah.
It looked like it was done good. I think 10's good.
So they're calling for the hit and roll, and that's big priority to try to get it behind the guard. Even if it's not shot right now, you can manipulate the rocks later so that that rock comes into play.
And also important just to stick around in the rings, Danielle. Otherwise, that corner guard might be disappearing on Courtney's next call.
Hard! Hard! You got it! Hard! Yep! Hard! 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 Hard roll! Go, go, go!
This is a nice looking shot.
Yep!
What a great
Whoa,
shot
whoa.
that is.
Beautiful
Nice
roll,
shot.
and those are
Perfect.
not easy on this
No,
ice.
they are not. They're not easy to call or make.
So Courtney's just calling this a normal weight, hit and roll onto the rings.
Yep. Yes. Hard. Whoa, 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 whoa. Jess. Hard, hard. Roll it, roll it, roll it. Roll it hard, hard, hard. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Very nice shot by Kayla.
Right on the nose!
I think the Murphy team is sitting second shot,
10!
and they're hitting this this rock so that they can sit 2.
There's a lot of siblings in this competition, Danielle.
Oh!
You're right, it's truly in the family here.
Oh yeah, like there's some twins out there, and there's
Trying.
sister acts,
We're
like
close.
the AULD
Get up
girls.
a little, get up a little. It's good, right?
I mean, many of them out there come from curling families, so they get into it at a young age, and they've progressed very quickly through the ranks to be these high performance players.
I liked it. I thought it was 10. Safe.
Good, good.
They've been very precise with their shots and their rolls.
Probably
Very
close
impressive.
to
They
this
have.
double, but we don't need it
I was
yet.
just watching Kayla release
That's
that
pretty
rock.
good, too.
She's really got a nice release
Just
right
10.
behind the rock.
Clean. Yeah, yeah! Hard! Hard! Yeah, hard! Nice shot.
Got the jam to the back, but they are sitting
Pretty sure that's
shot 1 and 2, I believe.
It's really close.
No, I think maybe 1 and 3, Danielle. Close.
It's close.
10.
Significantly less ice for Courtney here than Kayla. Building down!
Whoa! Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah!
Curl though. Yeah! Hard! Hard for a piece! Hard! Really hard!
And that was just a case of not throwing enough weight and out to the wings, especially towards sheet 8, it curls more.
Down.
11.5. Okay. I think it's worth hitting the red.
Okay, so they're saying it's pretty close, and
10.5 should be good.
that's where this decision is coming in. They want to ensure that their shot. And by hitting this, they will be, and avoiding the jam, they'll be setting 3.
10.5. It's really
I think
close,
either way,
but it's
whether
worth hitting
it's
the
shot or not, I think hitting this rock is a good idea
pillory
anyway.
through 1, remember? Quite straight. Bring the weight down, but I think we can hold it. No, it should be fine. A hair to you rise really nice. Because I feel like she'll try that fin double and we can roll right in the pocket. 10.5. Clean. Hard! Hard! Roll it!
Really good weight control on that shot, Danielle.
Think
Just
that's
wanted to throw like a 10-5 on that.
Think this is the
It was
easiest?
truly perfect.
Yeah.
Both teams seem to be getting the handle on the weight.
10.
Okay. Still controllable though. It's pretty touchy, but
Well, Jess mentioned in her comment there, you almost have to be on it before the breaking point. And that's true when, especially in those spots right around the center, it will really take off. So you need to anticipate that curl, especially if it was thrown nicely with nice controlled weight.
yeah, with that. Hard! Really hard! Right up!
Hard! 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 Get the roll!
Good attempt there on the roll. Just over curled a little bit on them.
Yeah, I think 10.5 is pretty good. I think we can keep that similar brown. Riley's just came
So
up.
a hit here for 3 for the Murphy team.
10-5. The last one was 10-8, but I still think that would be fine here. Yours finished up, hog line in. Just stay close. Yeah. A little dirty. Just keep it clean. Riley, just clean. Clean.
Yeah.
And that would be 3 on the board for Team Murphy, and they have taken the lead 4-2 over Team AULD. It will be Team AULD with the hammer going into the 5th end. And across the sheets we have Team Wilsey maintaining their lead, 3-1 over Team Fayez. Team Roson and Team Steele, 1-all.
I think the ice map is pretty good right now. We're really controlling it.
Team Hall with 2 points over Team Richard. Team Warner 3-1 over Team Kimmel. Team Hahn also 3-1 over Team Marshall. Team Wallingford took 1 in the 2nd and stole 2 in the 3rd end, and they are now up 3-0 over Team Little. And Team Steep cracked a deuce in the 4th end, and they now lead Team Leung 4-3 after 4 ends.
It's starting to move a little. Pretty straight. Just curling now. 15-4. Yep, keep going a little. Yep. Good one. Good judge, guys. That's a tricky rock. Definitely.
So Courtney is just going to ignore this rock and call her lead to put up a corner guard. Jessica will try to get this guard up sort of halfway between the hog and the house.
Whoa, Taya. Yes.
Little top. Right frozen is nice.
So Justin's team is up by 2 points. They're not wanting to junk up the front. They know that any guards will work more towards Team AULD's advantage, so that's why they're asking for this rock to come right in the house.
Line's good. 6 seconds. Curling pretty hard right now. 4-1. We're almost nose. Good shot.
Now not the best shot, Danielle. Only, and you know, I find that a lot when the lead puts the first one, you know, in front of the tee line, and then they're asked to just draw to that rock. They, for some reason, tend to throw a little more weight on the second one, end up tapping it, and in this case, they tapped it behind the tee line, which is not good for the Murphy team. It's going to help the AULD team for sure.
Yeah. As we talked about earlier with these tap backs, there's not much weight lost when one rock is hitting the other. There's almost a full transfer of weight, so we know that there was about back 8 thrown on that rock.
Yeah. She could have thrown just exactly what she threw on the first one, if not a little bit less with some sweeping. And so we'll see how, if that rock back there gets them into a little bit of trouble later on in the end.
Yeah, so they're edge to edge. They have the whole thing. Play a him roll here. When you talk about tolerance on this shot is more of a line tolerance, and if they take the guard in this case, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, one or the other.
one you need to switch and we need a bear. I don't know which way. That's fine.
Yeah! Yeah! Hard! Hard! Top left, clean, clean. Good.
10-8. Just looked a little bit soft.
It's a little soft, but taking the guard here was completely fine.
That was Danielle Hudson that threw that rock, and she puts an interesting fact, Danielle. She says she's a ginger with blue eyes, and apparently that is really rare.
Ah,
Like 1 in 9 million.
wow.
I guess gingers have green or hazel eyes.
Typically,
Mostly.
yeah.
Fun fact.
These teams had a lot of fun with their
They do.
fun facts.
I get a real kick out of reading these. They all have pretty good senses of humor.
16-3.
Bit of air, eh? Nose is good. 10.
That's the tricky spot in the ice.
It is. So she's calling to hit the one in the house, Danielle.
She is.
Yeah, a little tricky here. There's a possible jam on that rock I talked about behind the tee line.
I know, I saw.
If she gets this out a bit, gets it in a bit, she could possibly tick the red one in.
Yeah! Hard! Hard! Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Or she could make it just perfect,
Nice,
which is what she did.
Real nice.
Well, you know what? On that shot, Justin was calling it pretty much out of her hand, which
Good
leads
throw,
us to
Dan.
believe that she was a little tight on that.
Yeah.
But really, that's the way to throw it in that spot.
Yeah, you're
the
right.
the sweepers can hold it out there. So it might look scary right off the bat, but it's definitely the way you have to throw it there. And we've seen that a couple times this week. Teams have been tight. You sweep it right off the bat, hold it out there, and the shot is made.
Yeah. Whereas if you throw a little wide, you got nothing. Sweepers can't do anything about that.
It's the worst thing as a sweeper is just to not be able to affect anything and just to be praying. So much better when you can bring the sweepers into it.
Hard, Kayla. Whoa, whoa, whoa. 10-1.
Beautiful hit and roll
Yeah,
here.
we've seen a couple great hit and rolls in this game so far.
We're still sitting 2. Peel. Just the one. 8.5.
So the nice thing about this situation for the AULD team is that it forces the Murphy team to only play a peel. And the run back is there, but it's very dangerous because of where the other two rocks are positioned.
Yeah! Hard, Dan, hard! 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 Roll it, Hill. Good one. Good music, guys.
It was tighter than they wanted, but got the job done.
Yeah.
Voice is getting pretty raspy, sorry.
I like this call by Courtney. You can see now how that rock in the back is really working to their advantage. She called the freeze on the back one.
Yeah, that's the rock we talked about, isn't it, Danielle? Now, see, it's to Courtney's advantage, that rock. And, you know, I like this call, and if she could even tap it back 6 inches, it might bring her other rock into play at some point. She needs to score a couple of points in this end.
Right here. Hard.
I was questioning the amount of ice that she gave on that one when she put the broom down. Really need to tighten it up, but you flirt with that 4-foot area that we know will curl. So it's just how long is it going to stay out in the 8-foot?
Just noses. What?
Donnie, time out,
Hey.
I see.
You like 10? Clean. Whoa, 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 whoa. You're okay. Whoa, just, whoa, whoa.
And there's that jam you spoke about, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. I like the throw. I could have tightened you up a bit.
Other options, the roll.
Good throw, just I could have tightened your broom a bit. I got 10-3. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it.
So again, I feel like it's very generous with this broom in this spot. And they really need to get this buried to force the Murphy team to be playing a run back rather than going at the rocks in the house. And they had two options. They could draw in behind here and leaving that double for later, or they could play that double or play a single hit and roll over. Which honestly, I feel that might have been the better shot. The way they're throwing those hit and rolls right now, they don't necessarily even need to double them out at this moment.
Yeah, that was my first instinct, if you can hit it on the center line side, you might get the double and the roll somewhere close to that corner guard. And at this point in the end, you kind of want to sit two, because you want to take a multiple point in this end. And you have to kind of try when you get the chance.
Yeah.
You also want to make the shots easier on yourself as well, and that's
10, 10.
even if they had made this perfectly behind, that would have meant that it would have been Courtney making that double at some point herself.
We're still sitting 2 at the top there, well, we're gonna hit shot rock and then. It's easy release, I think, here. Clean. Yeah! 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 Clean. Yeah, yeah. Good one, guys.
But all isn't lost on this end. They can still get a deuce out of it, even with all shots made, if they can get a good roll here. What are your thoughts on which way to roll here, Mary?
Pretty gradual, I think. A bit more finished.
Well, if she rolls behind the red corner,
Your weight was great.
she might be jamming on her back one, which I'm not sure is a big deal. If she rolls behind the yellows, it's such an easy run back for Justin. So either roll has its pros and cons. At this point, you have to try to make one of them and hope that the other team misses.
Whoa! Off! We're rolling this way. Hey,
No.
hard to stay around. Hard, really hard. Okay. I got it.
But most important, Danielle, is she had to stick around.
Full eight, I
And you
think,
can't
for
roll
the
out.
draw. Yeah.
Now ideally, if they could walk it down there, the best spot would be
full curl.
fully buried behind the guard, top 4, and she would have the cold draw to the button. But second best is what they discussed was even just buying top 8 is fine. If they're going to be short, they might as well try to block more of that path to the button.
Yeah, I think it snaps and kind of puts the brakes on a bit here. But as long as we're kind of center line-ish, yeah. Line's good.
Wide right now.
Hold in.
Wide right now.
Just let it move a little. Pull.
Rise rock if you have to.
You can be way back, Riley. Just 4. We like 4.
Yes, yes, hard. Yes, yes, yes. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's okay, that's okay.
Yeah, not a bad result, especially
Once it
because it
curls, it really
hung out
dies,
so
eh?
far.
These are great weights.
Was she calling that, Danielle, to just plug up the hole, or was she coming around that guard?
That makes
I
sense.
didn't really see the
Once it
call.
breaks, it
I like where it ended up.
I do too. I thought they had talked about coming in around and dropping it short was okay. So I think Jess just threw it more to the tolerance than she did to make the full shot, which was good she did, because that both skips were brooming too much for that spot if you're intending to get right behind the guard. Now it's going to be a Team AULD playing a tap against 3 to score their point.
Yeah, this is a real pressure shot.
Whoa. You're not touching it yet. Taya, try. Try, Taya. Taya!
And that will be a steal of 3 for Team Murphy, and they now lead 7-2 over Team AULD. Team AULD with the hammer going into N6 after the break. It's worth a quick mention that we have our first final out here on the ice. Team Wilsey with a 9-1 win over Team Fayez. They picked up a 6-ender in N4, and then Fayez decided to call it a day. But with that win, Team Wilsey has locked up a spot in the playoffs. Now, we won't know which spot. They're currently undefeated at 7-0, but Team Leong and Team Hall are right on their heels, 4-1, and they're both in tight games out on the ice. So we're going to head into the commercial break during this 5th end, and we'll be back with more action from the Annandale Golf and Curling Club.
All good. One more time, please.
Position about 8 yards from goal. Thoroughly unforgettable performance. Performance.
Not anymore. It's like
How big? We haven't been even a bit in trouble. So, yeah. Yeah. So to the wings. What's your question? Curl? Pretty similar for both, I think. Yeah. Haven't thrown. They threw a draw this way. It was similar to the other side, I think. Thanks. So are you. Yeah. I'll probably adjust it for Dan a bit. Thanks. Marble cheese is the best.
Right, so we're back with our feature game, Team AULD and Team Murphy, and it was Team Murphy with a steal of 3 in end number 5, and they now lead 7-2 over Team AULD. Quick update on the scores across all of the sheets. We had mentioned before the break that Team Wilsey has locked up a playoff spot with a 9-1 win over Team Fayez.
Line's good.
Team Rosanne is leading 3-1 over Team Steele.
Still straight.
Team Hall also with the 3-1 lead. That's over Team Richard.
Go all the way
Team
back.
Warner 3-2 over Team Chemo.
Yeah.
All tied up in the Hahn and Marshall game. It's 3 points apiece. Team Little came back with a single point in N4. They still trail Team Wallingford.
Stopped, to be honest. Like
That's
that.
this by a score of 3-1. And it's all tied up on sheet 8 between Team Leung and Team Steep. That's 4-all going into the break.
We like that rock where it is. If they make a
So
corner,
Justin
let's
calls
feel
her
it.
first rock into the rings. Unfortunately, it did go quite deep in the house. She would have liked that
hard,
top
girls.
8, top 4.
Hard over, guys. Hard.
Get it over.
Alright, you got it.
Important for the team that's up this many points to stay focused in this game.
And that was an unfortunate break for the AULD team, the hogging the guard. So,
Watch out.
and you can see Jess is going straight to peeling that rock that landed in the back.
You know, that's a really good call.
Yeah.
It is.
A lot of the younger teams wouldn't think to do that, Danielle.
It's affectionately called the peel of shame.
You're right. I like that.
They'll have, when the lead doesn't put their rock exactly where they wanted it, whether it was in the back of the house or in front of the
guard.
rings, when they were meaning to be in the top of the house and they end up peeling it out.
They have to peel. They have to basically correct their mistake, their own mistake.
Yeah. But in this case, they did, and it's an open house, so we're going to see Team AULD continue to put up the guard, Team Murphy peeling the guard, and at this point, because there are no rocks in play, Team AULD is just going to have to pray for a miss from Team Murphy.
Good.
I mentioned earlier that these two skips both have mothers that are quite competitive curlers and will both be playing in the Scotties Tournament of Hearts coming up in a couple of weeks. Kathy AULD and Janet Murphy. And my co-host here is going to be part of that competition.
I believe you mentioned I'm looking forward to being the first live stream game.
That's right, you are. You are.
Be on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
Be on the cold side of the glass.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Dan.
And that was the miss that the AULD team was hoping for. With the peel, they ended up sticking around, and unfortunately for the Murphy team, it ended up being a corner guard. But fortunately for the AULD team, they're now able to throw another corner guard. So in order to generate multiple points, they're going to need a couple guards out there.
Coming down. We're fine.
Kayla's rock. Kayla's rock. Switch. If you're over, you can. Okay.
Same thing. 8.5.
They could play a double peel on these two rocks if they came at it with the intern, though. Jess seems quite content just to be taking one rock at a time.
And I think she chose to peel the red rock instead of the yellow rock because the yellow rock is their rock and it's tighter to the rings. You know, if they get one around that, she could play a run back on that rock. There's another mistake by the Murphy team. Courtney will be happy with this. She's got a couple of guards in front of the house.
And I like that she's showing patience here. So even though there are two guards in play, she's still putting a third one in. That's also showing respect to the Murphy team and their ability to peel. You know, we just saw two shots that didn't quite work out the way they wanted, but they are a very strong team.
Yeah.
Yes! Hard. Okay, hard. Hard. No. We're good. Kayla, finish. Hard. Okay, that's good.
That's a nicely placed guard.
You like yellow?
And what was great about that guard is that it's ahead of the other yellow corner guard, so they can't even play any sort of a double off of that corner.
Good one. Kayla.
It's a single peel. So Courtney indicated that she wants to go around this time. It's a smart move. They're onto their Vice's rocks, so they need to start getting rocks in play. It's getting caught in that straight spot on the 8 foot.
Right back. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
You can see the finish is all in the last 5 feet or so.
Right. I think just stick right there. 10.
and they just snuck by and rolled out. But to be honest, I know she was calling the rock to stick there, but to be honest, I like the rollout.
Absolutely.
There's no when you're up by 5 points, there's no need to have any rocks in play.
No.
They just tend to get in your way and make it more difficult for peels or run backs.
So Kayla will try to get another one around this guard.
Weight's good. Look.
Line's good. Line's good.
Gotta go.
Line's good.
You're short.
Hard, drag it. Hard, drag it. All right, you're on the guard. If you were to get.
This is light.
Good communication by the sweepers to the skip. Let them know that was light so they could do a plan B.
I think just, full 8.
So there are three guards in play right now.
Your 4-3 was back here. Yeah, so 14-8 and 15 will be in top here.
And that's the reason why they are playing this come around here. Short of a miracle triple, there's going to be at least 1 guard in play, so they might as well just go for it at this point on Skip's rocks.
Okay. It's her out turn compared to my in, though, that's all. Yeah, can I have almost edge? Yeah. Yeah, I think that looks a lot nicer. Top 8, top 12's good. Running similar, eh? Okay. Heavy, I think.
Straight. Stay close.
Line's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa.
Room. Whoa, whoa.
Yeah, bring it back, Dan. Yep.
Big rock. Okay. Oh my gosh, sorry.
So great weight.
Sorry. Little big on my tip. Let's make this one. You got it. It did come down.
They had readjusted the ice and good conversation about what they had seen from the AULD team versus what they
Curled in really nicely.
were throwing. And
It just looked super tight from down there, but we got by the top.
so you're throwing from left-hand attack. It was a different angle, a different throw, and typically the outturns curl less for players and the interns curl more. So that was Jess's intern. She was anticipating it would curl more, and we saw that was indeed what happened.
Yeah, we'll see what. So Courtney's a lefty, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so she's going to be throwing an out turn at this, whereas Justin threw an in turn.
Sorry, that was Kayla, who's the
Kayla.
lefty, who
Yes.
had just thrown a rock down that path.
I knew one of those AULDs was a lefty.
All you. Line early. Yeah. Hard.
This is going. Courtney's just struggling with draw weight today.
Hard. Yes.
Unfortunately, they would have had great line on that if they had about 15 feet more weight.
Right around again.
So now this is what I call one of those stick the knife in and twist it moments. That if she sinks another one right in behind
Right around
the
again.
set of guards,
Top 4 weight. Top
right on top, that's really going to put the pressure on for the AULD's last rock to make a draw of the
I'm
bun.
going to give you less weight.
Though it's also
Got
very
your
important to consider the tolerance for this shot, and
Gonna
that's
give you 2
to
feet less.
be light. Being heavier, setting up a double here would
Got by the guard
be a bit
by
of a
lots. I
disaster
think we
for
can
the
switch a bit
Murphy team.
earlier.
Little wider.
Little wider.
Wait if you can.
Dan first.
Wait if you can. Yeah, then Dan. Whoa. It looks pretty good.
Yep.
Yep. Whoa.
wider. No.
There's that tolerance we talked about. Guard here, and this is going to force the AULD team to make
Just got a hair
cold
wider
draw to
and
the
it
button,
didn't
and
wanna
they're going to
curl
have to
either, right?
negotiate a port for this one as well.
We have to switch eventually.
Jessica!
Too rough, I think. It does, but. This is pretty nice that we're key-lining. Oh, yeah! Hard! Hard, guys, line's good, hard! Right in, hard!
This rock's going to come up light, so that is another steal for the Murphy team, and they have an 8-2 lead over Team AULD.
Just see here, I think the team AULD might have a discussion on whether they want to continue to play.
Just
Only
keep
the
everything
6th
clean,
end.
there's lots of stuff.
I think they're going to continue.
They don't look like they have any handshakes, so again, we're 8-2 for Team Murphy after 6 ends of play, and it will be Team AULD with the hammer going into end number 7. So a quick update across the sheets. On sheet 2, we have Team Rozon with a steal 1 in end 5. They lead 3-1 over Team Steel. Team Hall leading Team Richard 3-1. Team Kiemel with a steal of 2 in end 5. They are up 4-3 over Team Warner. Team Marshall also with a steal of 2. In the 5th, Team Marshall's up 5-3 over Team Hahn. Team Wallingford 3-2 over Team Little. And it was tied 4-all after end 5 and Team Leung and Team Steep, and we're just seeing the final rocks come down now of end 6.
4-7? Sorry. Hit it, guys.
Unfortunate mistake there.
Good.
Courtney asked for a
still
corner
did like
guard. It
10.
slips into the rings.
Pretty straight up here, eh? Sorry, guys. Just 10.
And that's tough when you're down. You really need those shots to be up front. So you talk tolerance, and your tolerance is basically anywhere above between the hog lines and the rings.
Yeah, you got to remember too, this is great sweeping ice. Sweepers can take that rock a long way. Just throw it to get it over the hog line and let the sweepers do the rest.
I have such a bad itch, but I have like 500 layers on. Oh my lord.
20% left. Did you get a time on it? Felt soft, but I knew I could do that in that.
It's under my 6 layers. Okay.
5-8. Would be a nice start.
Do you like this
And
way, Dan?
redemption.
It's
I think
redemption,
it's running
unfortunately,
nicer.
making
Yeah.
this shot.
8.5.
It's no longer the free guard zone. So the Murphy team can peel this out. The first one is a gift. A kind of a freebie. Put it in the free guard zone and the other team is not allowed to hit it. That's why it's so important.
Oh,
This is a case where Team AULD would be quite happy if it was the 5 rock free guard zone
Yes,
rule.
exactly.
Yeah, we'll see that coming into effect next season.
Yeah.
And makes no mistake about that, the rock is peeled right out. So all the AULD team can do right now is again try to place these guards around the sheet. You see they're trying to go to the other side now, so they're hoping that by putting it in a different spot on the ice, they might get a miss out of the Murphy team.
He's trying to.
Good.
Good draw. Enough! Yeah. Good weight on that, Dan.
Well, that can is mental about it.
Yeah, for sure. Great weight. Nice! Clean! Clean! Good. Yep. Good, good, good. Run. Nice rock. All on your own, girlfriend. Yeah, for sure. I do too. Manageable also.
Looks fine. Yeah.
It's not the way these two teams, I imagine, figured this game would go, Mary.
No, I actually thought this was going to be right down to the last rock, 10th end. But I think Courtney herself has struggled a little bit in this game, especially with draw weight.
Two good ones.
She's also been left with a few situations that have been tough draws, and she's been caught up in some spots in the ice that she might not have necessarily been picturing she would be throwing at the beginning of the end. And then, of course, as the skip, your misses end up on the board.
Yeah, for sure.
So like 16. Mine is the one that I was like, ooh. Then I was like,
But a win here for Murphy, if they're able to hold on to lead, would mean that they would secure at least a tiebreaker spot. And then pending the results of other games out here this morning.
it really doesn't matter where it is.
Anywhere.
Yeah, right now Wallingford and Little are having quite a match
Yeah, yeah.
out there.
Okay. 17.
7-2. 7-2.
They are currently in,
I mean, in
Wallingford
terms
is
of how far
actually at
over
the
it
top of the
is.
standings with
Anyways,
Murphy
get
right
whatever
now.
spot. Same weight.
And Little and Auld are
Yeah.
tied for second place.
Yeah, it was Lean. Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah. Hard. Hard, Royal. Sorry, Bri.
And here's the break that Team AULD was hoping for.
Shoot. She had one there that floated, but I don't know.
Mine stayed really straight here. I agree with you. It's a floaty spot there.
We were a bit closer to center line. They can't move.
So no hesitation. Courtney puts the broom down. She's
Okay.
Yeah.
calling a second guard.
All right.
I don't think it's a spot you can drive this back out, but you can hold it right where it is.
Yeah,
Actually,
like
she
right into center
appears
there.
like she is coming right around.
You're rock, you're rock.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and actually,
Close to the rock.
Hard, Taya.
when you're down that much, you need to start putting rocks in, not around Kayla's rock.
Drag
Yeah,
it, drag
Kayla's
it,
playing
drag it,
third,
drag
so at
it,
this
drag
point,
it. Hard, hard,
I think it's
hard,
time to
hard.
get some rocks in the house. This one's looking
15,
really good.
7.
Little short.
I still think just peel the
So
Line
right.
is great.
Great line.
And at this point,
We can.
But that was tolerance there.
I think just peel it out.
When you're down this many points, there really
Yeah.
isn't
9.
any tolerance. You need to make the shot, but I mean, if you're going to miss a shot, missing it short rather than right through the house is where you need to be.
Just peel the red out. Like 9? If we roll on, just roll big, Dan.
She'll go for the red rock here, but peeling the yellow is fine as well.
Okay.
There's some panic moments at the beginning with the
positive.
vice calling it right off, but she
A hair.
made it. No sweeping required.
More positive than usual.
So they want to make sure with this rock for the AULD team that they get it,
Yeah, you were just more positive.
first of all, buried in behind the guard, but they also would like to get it least into the top 4 area so that they have some room to come on top of it with their next one. Well, they would probably be splitting the house at that point if the guard is peeled, but if for some reason there's a missed shot.
Tipping over.
Excuse me, I don't even know who's throwing here. We're on Skip's rock,
Yeah,
so she
Skip
just
rock.
needs to bury it, period.
Oh. Definitely curls off.
Guess I need morning coffee here.
Pardon me?
Guess I need a morning coffee here. Been lulled by all of our target practice that we've
Yeah.
had here.
Oh, yeah.
Now, interesting here, Courtney was
Yeah, well,
coming
she
light
only
on
has
a
one
lot
rock
of
left,
draws,
right?
going into the 4-foot
Take tight
area.
ice here.
And I got thinking when she throws this one around the corner guard, she's going to put a little extra weight on it because she's been light in the last couple of shots. But this is probably the quickest part of the ice going to the
Around
wing.
that, make her draw. I get back here 12. Yeah, like 4 or 5 probably. We got 3.
That's
two, just like
something for her to bear in mind, but
easy for
also
it.
the sweepers can help her. The rest of her teammates can help her by reminding her about different paths and how
Hair
they'll
less
run.
ice than Courtney,
But we haven't heard any chatter
would've
around
just
that, so
buried.
they might not be picking up on it.
Yeah.
T-line.
Little
Little lad.
Whoa.
Line's good, room. Dan first.
Oh, not curling. You're
Dan
running.
first.
You're running.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Should be so nice, Dan. Yep. Dan, yep.
Keep it going, yep. Keep it going.
Keep it curling. Real nice.
Justin has played very well in this game, Danielle.
Pretty good.
She has, and that's
Let's
put a
take this one.
ton of pressure on Courtney.
Curl pretty late there.
Real late, yeah.
And it, yeah.
And that draw behind, even though there's a piece sticking out there, it's this point for the AULD team. They need to get some points on the board, and they're going to go
like
right for
tipping
the draw.
over. I
So
tipped
needing
over
a
back
piece of the
there.
4-foot for a single
I
point.
need like stable base. Big.
Hey, all you.
To me.
Oh,
Yeah. It's putting on the brakes.
14-10. He's
I
trying.
didn't touch it at all.
Ooh, he's dying.
Just let her have this one.
Yeah.
And with that curl, the rock slows down. She makes the draw into the 4-foot to pick up a single point. So
Hammer time.
Team Murphy now leads 8-3 over Team AULD, and they're having a discussion of whether or not they're going to shake. And that is handshakes. So final score is 8-3 after 7 ends of play for Team Murphy.
Thank you. Your game.
Yeah, and like you say, we thought perhaps this game would be a little closer because they're two of the front runners in this competition. But I think Courtney just had a little bit of an off day today, and Justin did play very well. Her whole team did.
They did, and that means that they have now locked up at least a tiebreaker spot, and to be determined about other playoff positioning based on the other games on the ice right now. But we'll be able to give you more information during our broadcast this afternoon about the situation for playoffs. And this is moving day, so.
It is. So up next today at 3 o'clock, we're going to show the John Wilsey game up against Matt Hall, and that is a really big game because they are both at near the top of the standings. Later on, well, we're not sure if there's going to be a game tonight. I think we can almost guarantee there may be a tiebreaker, but if so, we will stream that tonight at 8:30.
So we'd like to take this time to thank all of our viewers for watching the coverage of the 2017 Ontario U21 Curling Championships, brought to you by Curl On. On behalf of Mary, myself, and our entire TSL crew, we wish you a good afternoon from the Annandale Golf and Curling Club. This has been a presentation of Title Sports Live.